Conversations with my ex. Yes, it had to end. Dated for 5 years. Now we really good friends. Conversations with my ex. Talking love and life. The dating ins and outs. Sharing some dope advice. We gon' keep it honest. Never hold back with my comments. I done learned a thing or two. So we gotta talk about it. You'll be laughing and vibing. Come through and connect. Never know what to expect. Conversations with my ex. Hey.
The first one always puts hair on your chest. Not that I don't have plenty of it. Ooh.
We should keep that in.
Yeah, I might.
Welcome back. You always get to say welcome back. Now it's my turn.
Yeah, you should back up from the mic a little bit. You just screamed it.
Welcome back to episode 5, right?
Episode 5.
Wow, time is flying. This is crazy. Who would have thought? Episode 5.
See, it's funny because episode 5 feels like a milestone, but I'm not sure if episode 5 really is a milestone.
It's not. I think 10 is going to be the big milestone, and we have some fun plans for episode 10. But it's still a big deal. $5 foot long.
I mean, honestly, I'm just glad that we're staying consistent with it because not that I was afraid we wouldn't, but you know how sometimes you have these ideas.
I think you were kind of afraid that we wouldn't.
Well, the only reason being is because like when you are riding off just the initial excitement of an idea, it's so easy to kind of tackle the objective at hand and kind of put that stuff into motion. But is it sustainable when that initial excitement wears off? And I don't know about you, but I've been, thoroughly enjoying the process. So that makes it a lot easier to stay consistent.
It's so much fun. And it's also cool, like getting people's reactions too. Like that's really cool. Like I went to one of my really good friends' restaurant that she manages. And one of the servers was like, hey, like I listened to your podcast. I thought it was great. And like when it's someone random like that who like you don't really talk to, like it
feels better almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like I rather random people that I'm not that close with reach out.
Not saying that if you're close to us, don't reach out and that we don't appreciate it.
It just means more when it's someone who genuinely found it just by going on their Instagram or finding it online.
No, I'm in agreement with that because you're like, oh, the people who know us but probably would have a little bit of an interest or either an interest or just being supportive. Where if it's a random person,
they feel obligated to like say something.
My friends don't. I can guarantee you that.
Well, that's
maybe
that's
one
them.
day. Maybe one day we'll see.
I think guys are just different too. I feel like
yeah.
I gotta stop saying like. 2 things that I notice that I say so much is like and definitely.
Are we cutting this out or are you just leaving this in here?
No, we're leaving it in. Why? We're
okay, I don't know, because you just stopped and you were just like, I say like too much. So I didn't know if you were telling me like, hey.
No, I say like way too much, but whatever.
That's the whole fun part about this whole process is learning as you go and getting better with it. The good thing that I will say that you and I do have is we have chemistry and it doesn't sound as if we're nervous or that we don't know what to say. So I feel like people care more about that than how many times you say like or definitely. And since you pointed it out, everyone's going to be looking for it now. So just
I know, maybe we will crop that out. I'm kidding. So today's topic is going to be a little mix of first date expectations and just kind of dating in the first stages and how we feel, what expectations we have, what attracts us. So we wanted to just touch base on this because I feel like everybody has different expectations. They really do.
Yeah, and it doesn't even just go – everybody has different expectations person to person, but you also have different expectations in a gender sense.
My mom literally just sent me a text message saying, good luck, no foul language. For the podcast because I told her that we were filming a podcast. So how do you think we should start this off? Should we talk about what we expect on a first date? Like what are kind of like I would say like maybe like the top 4, top 3, like, all right, this is what needs to happen or else I'm not taking this seriously.
Yeah, I guess we could start there. I would say that, and maybe this is just me, I feel like as a female, you have more expectations for how the date needs to go than, I would personally. And maybe it's just me, but I think males as a whole are just kind of psyched that they're going out, that they really don't have as much expectation. Not saying there isn't any expectations there, but there's that little bit of that social norm, I would say, of what should be expected versus what, is kind of up in
And
the air for
also,
whatever.
like the male and female brains are just so different. They really are. And it's just a matter of, also, I feel like it's also what your upbringing taught you too. When you look at when you were younger, at dates and on TV, like society, a lot of things
Yeah.
really do shape what your expectations come down to. And this is something I've learned recently, to have higher expectations for myself, because I feel like prior to, I think, kind of getting back into this dating world that I've been embarked on, which is it's very interesting. But I think that I've learned that, one, I need higher expectations, and I've gotten to a point where I feel like I'm happy with the expectations that I now have. And two, we need to be aware of what our expectations are, and also, if it needs to be tweaked, tweak them. Because I feel like when I was dating in the past, my expectations weren't where they needed to be and where I deserve those expectations to be. Everybody deserves to have certain expectations and have those expectations be met. And if they're not met, then adios, motherfucker. There's my foul
Yeah,
language.
there's your foul language for the day. But when you were saying that, I also thought of this question for you. Do you think, and I know that it definitely plays a role, I'm just not sure about how much of a role. Do you think that because you're a little bit older, and the fact that you and I were in a long-term relationship, I know it's been almost a year since we've been together, but just coming out of something a little bit more long-term, that definitely has to skew your expectations. And I don't mean so much as in what I deserve, but do you think that you look for things a lot quicker because you're older? I feel like when you're younger, right, when you're in your early 20s, not saying that as you get older you don't have time. I mean, I'm about to be 30 and there's still plenty of time for me to go out in the dating world and take my time through, it doesn't have to be anything rushed. But do you feel like when you were younger, you almost were a little bit more present with it because you felt like you had so much time that this person doesn't need to be that person, or that you let it develop a little bit more naturally, where now it's almost like when you meet someone, you're like analyzing them a hell of a lot more? Do you think that plays a
Well,
role in
two
that? Or
things. I think that prior to dating you and after dating you, my expectations changed because, one, prior to you, I didn't have a boyfriend. So I also didn't, like, I've never had a boyfriend. I had
yeah,
like little casual things, but I never had a serious boyfriend. So I didn't know what my expectations should be or what they would be. Like, I didn't really think about those details. I kind of was just like, oh my God, I want a boyfriend. I want a boyfriend. I want a boyfriend. So, like, I feel like that really does, when you want something so badly. And then you and I met when I kind of just gave up on that dream. I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to go with the flow, and whatever happens, happens. And then I met you. So it's very coincidental. But I was just at a point where I was just like, God, whatever you send me, I'm taking it. But after dating you, after
glad I
dating
was
you,
just whatever.
no, I'm not saying,
I
I'm
know what
saying
you
right
mean.
before you, that's when, and that's what the coincidental thing about it was, before I met you, I started being like, you know what? I don't even care to have a boyfriend. Like, I'm going to take whatever
Maybe that's
comes
the
my way.
secret.
100%. I think that's everything in
I know
life.
they
If you,
always say seek and you shall find, but I think when it comes to love, sometimes it's
and
leave
not
it
even
alone.
just love, so like that can be connected with so many
Connection,
different
and yeah,
things. Yeah.
sometimes I
But
think if you look too hard,
it's never
you
going to
over.
come. Yeah.
I feel like the harder you look for something, sometimes the more you overlook things, because
Yes.
you're over analyzing, and sometimes that's to a fault. Sometimes you're over analyzing to the point where you're seeing stuff that's not there.
Yeah. But then I think the other thing that shifted my expectations now is, well, after dating you, you left the expectations really high because you were a very good boyfriend. So you definitely laid out like certain things, that this is what a healthy relationship entails. This is what you should be looking for. So that also made things harder for me, because it's hard to find a good guy. It really is. So leaving you, it was like my mindset. In the beginning, it was more like, I need a rebound. I want to have fun. Like,
Yeah,
after us breaking up, that was more my mentality. So I feel like that also kind of misconstrued my expectations, because I was just at a point where I was just like, I want to have fun. I want to be free. I haven't been single in so long. Like, so that kind of leads you kind of into a downhill spiral of just like, I'm having fun, whatever. If he's an asshole, cool. But then now, recently, now that I've been more, I don't care to have a boyfriend right now, but it's something that I'm more aware of in my dating life. It's just like these expectations need to be met, or else I'm not even wasting my time with you anymore. Regardless if the intent is to just have fun and be friends with benefits, or if it is a serious relationship, my expectations are now at a certain point. And I've learned that from being hurt. Honestly, I feel like being hurt has helped me also realize what I will no longer stand for.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I find that to be kind of true for me too, at least in the sense of when you're like when you first get out of a long-term relationship, there's the 50-50 of I need to take time for myself to heal, and then the other 50%'s like I need to go have some fun and get my mind off of this. So it's almost like a catch-22 where sometimes you can delay yourself from healing or doing what you need to do for yourself. Sometimes that
And that's a
step takes
whole
a little
other
longer.
episode. We're
Yeah.
definitely, and I honestly think that might be the next episode, or an episode coming fairly soon, because I feel like it's such an important topic of just the healing process and getting into a relationship when you haven't fully healed, because that's exactly what I did after you.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's something that people need to be aware of and realize that healing is so, so, so important. But
It
getting
really
back to
is.
expectations, let me ask you, like on a first date, when you meet someone and what do you think about, and what are your expectations going into that first date?
Well, I feel like for me, and you know this obviously from dating me, and I'm more of a complex person in the sense of I like when things kind of go deep. That doesn't mean they have to be super emotional or anything at first. I mean, take my time. I'm not trying to rush into anything, but I like to know that there's some sort of connection there. So for me, there needs to be that seed of something before there's a first date, right?
And also like
It's
a natural flow. I feel like for you, since you're someone who's like heavily into having good conversations, whether it be
oh yeah.
deep or surface level, I feel like for you, like it has to flow and
Oh,
like
I'll know
naturally.
immediately. I'll know
Yeah.
immediately upon going out with someone if it's not saying if they're the one or not, but to say
If it's
is there going
going
to be
anywhere.
if it's someone that I feel like I can invest my time into and it won't be wasted.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't be a good person. That doesn't mean they wouldn't be a good girlfriend. That doesn't even mean that they wouldn't be doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It's just if we don't jive. And I'm usually pretty good at being able to communicate with anybody, to talk with anybody. So if I'm ever out with anybody and it's awkward, I know it's not me. I know 100% it's not me. I know it's
I'm
not.
weak.
And I'm not saying that as like,
I
you
can
know me.
confidently say that too about you for sure.
I
Yeah.
can flap my gums with the best of them. So if the
You can
conversation's
talk to
awkward,
a
it's not me.
you can talk to a fucking rock and have
Yeah.
a very intellectual conversation with that
Yeah.
rock.
Yeah. But I think for me, it's more or less getting to that first date, right? I think before I can even have first date expectations, it's my expectations are usually built on the pre decision about going on the first date,
Yeah,
which
I
I
think
think
that
is probably everybody's, but
that's the biggest deal breaker right there, is how we go about going on this date. What
yeah.
is the date? What are the details of the date? Where are we going? When are we going? Like that's all
Yep.
important for
But
sure.
not even just that. And what I'm talking about here specifically is sometimes I wonder if I have too high of expectations, but my expectations are completely based upon the conversation I had with that person leading up to that date. So I may talk to a person for a while and, kind of have some back and forth conversation. And if I feel like I can communicate fluently with them through even just text messaging and they seem like they have a good sense of humor, or they're picking up, they're not like, it's not like you said, talking to a rock. It's not like there's a lot of good back and forth. It's not just a bunch of one word stuff. Then I'm like, maybe my expectation for how this date's going to go is a little too high. Now, I think as a male, I don't really care so much about how the date goes in the sense of how
Details.
the details go. It's more or less, will this person that I'm talking to, this good communication and connection that I'm feeling just, texting with this person, is that going to translate to actual conversation? And
And I
sometimes
think
it does and sometimes it doesn't.
and
And
that's a
I
good
think sometimes
example.
like
That's
I set the bar high in my head of this is where they need to meet, and maybe they fall just under that. But because the communication was so good through text that I'm thinking, oh, the in-person conversation is going to be up here, and then maybe I set the bar too high, so maybe that's my own fault. But usually I can tell.
And I
I'm
think
pretty
that
good at
that's a
reading
good
people.
example of seeing how women and men differ, because I feel like when it comes to like a woman, like, yes, obviously the flow and the conversation needs to be
Yeah,
there and like the back and forth. But I feel like for girls and for, well, women, they look more into the effort that the guy makes into the date, how they go about planning this date, the effort that they put into the date. That's such a big like eye opener for on our end. Like, all right, what's good? Like, is he gonna just invite me over to his house? That's a big red flag for me. If you're gonna invite me, even though that's exactly what happened with
I
us
know.
nowadays,
That's why it's funny.
if our first date involves you having me over your house, you clearly just want to have sex. So that's
Yeah,
number one. Two, the effort that's put in. Like, I really like, and I went on a really great date where the guy was just like, hey, we're going to do this, be ready by this time, wear this, and I got everything planned and I got everything covered. Do I think that it should always be the male making plans and making all that effort? No. But I do think that that's a really good way to kind of set the tone and be like, I'm not with I'm not with the games. I got a plan for us. I'm a man. I got this. I got you. Like, we're doing it. So I feel like that's also really big. And that is very rare to find. And it's so like baffling to me that it's so difficult to find a guy that can just plan a first date.
yeah. You want to know what I think a disconnection is? Because I used to have this problem. I don't any longer. But I used to have the problem of I'm such a nice person that I'm so worried about inconveniencing the other person in any way, shape, or form that sometimes that affects my decision of saying, we're going to go here and we're going to do this, where I'm like, ooh, is that too much out of the way for them? Is that this? And I used to struggle with that. Now it's just like, nah, I'll just plan something. They'll veto it if that's too far out of their way.
Exactly. Like, worst comes to worst, they're just like, oh no, you know what? Then you come up with another plan.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. So that's something that it's hard for me to understand and comprehend, but that's beyond the point. For me also, I think it is the questions that you ask as well. Like, I like when they ask me, like, what do I do for work? And what do I do in my free time? What do I enjoy to do? Where am I from? Like, a little bit more as, like, they want to get to know me more on a personal level other than just being like, damn, mommy, you look good. I want to take you out for drinks.
I hope you don't
Like,
go out
and
with
then
people who say that.
no, but I get that all the time, especially on Hinge, and it's just like, make a little bit more of an effort. Like, come on, man. Like, you really can't even just have like a little bit of a back and forth. Like, one, you're a stranger to me, bro. Like, make some kind of effort to get a little bit more personal here, because then it
Yeah.
also is less awkward when you do go on that first date, because it's like, you know a little bit more about this person, you have a little more about a background about them. So, and so, but when it comes to leading up to the date, I think my biggest expectations is the plan and then the questions that you ask me before you meet me. I think those are my two biggest like standouts when it comes to that.
Okay.
And
Now,
so, and for you, I feel like it's more, like you said, the conversation, having
yeah.
that flow, that nice back and forth.
Yeah.
And
Because for
anything
me,
else?
well, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't care how good looking you are. If you dull
You
me
could look
mentally,
like a foot.
if you dull me no, what I'm saying is you could be the
I know,
hottest
kidding.
person on the planet. It doesn't matter to me if you can't hold a conversation or an intellectual conversation with me. I'm not interested. I'm bored out of my mind, and I hate feeling like, I'm not saying I don't want to put any work in, but when I'm feeling like I'm on a date or leading up to something and I feel like I'm carrying the entire conversation, and if I'm not guiding or piloting this entire enterprise, it's not going anywhere, then it's like,
Not
dude,
the
you're not worth my
enterprise.
time. I just wanted to use that word. I don't even know if it fits there, but it came to my head. I'm like, enterprise. I haven't said that word. I don't know if I've ever said that word. So yeah, I
But
don't know.
so, and then when it comes to the actual date,
See, I feel like you have more expectation as a woman than I would for
oh
this
yeah,
as a man.
oh yeah, 100%. And I just feel like I mean, in the beginning, it's not that much of an expectation, right? You go, you meet, you sit. I mean, I'm very good with not letting things get awkward. Like, even if I feel like the vibe is like they're super nervous or something, like, I'm really good at starting a conversation and just kind of like, if they're not someone that can start a conversation, I'll be the conversation starter. Like, I'm good with the icebreakers. I know what questions to ask. That's definitely something that I'm strong with, for sure. For me on the first date, the issue gets to the point of like the end of like when it comes to paying. That's a big issue that I've had with a lot of dates that I've been on. And I don't expect a man to pay for everything. I don't. And I think that that's a delusional mindset to have as a woman. You shouldn't expect anything. You shouldn't expect to have a man pay for everything and take you this and do that. But when it comes to a first date and you're really trying to like make an impression on yourself and not on yourself, but make an impression for this person, pay the fucking bill, man. Like, come on. And usually a first date, you're not going all out, having like a $300 bill, like going to like a fancy ass. Like, I feel like a first date is a lot more casual. It's usually like drinks, maybe a few appetizers. The bill is not going to be more than like 80, $90, depending on how hard you go. For me, the first date, I don't like to drink too much because I don't want to lose control. And then I don't know this person. I don't want to be taken advantage of, or I don't want to lose my sense of like clarity. So I have like my like 3-drink max. I like that. Like a nice 3-drink, like feeling good, still have control of the situation. So like the bill is not crazy expensive. So if you're going to allow me to pay, I think it just says a lot about a man. It really does. It's like, you know what? It's on me. And somebody told me once, like, oh, but what if the person's like not into you? And like, but I feel like you can tell that. Like if I'm on a date and I'm with a guy and like it's not flowing and I'm not feeling it, and at the end of the date, like if we end up splitting the bill, it's not going to affect me as much because it's just like, all right, whatever. I know I'm never going to see this guy again. Fuck it. But there's so many times where it's like it's a good date, it's flowing well, this, and then the check comes and it's just like in the air. And one of the biggest shocking points for me was when I went on a date with this guy. And I was already at Zaza. So I had already had like a drink or two on my own. He came and he had a beer. And so like I had already paid my tab. So like he had a beer, whatever. And so we went to another place afterwards. I'm telling you, we had 1 drink each. I had a cocktail. He had a beer. The bill was like $25. Tell me why this man let me split the bill with him on a $25 fucking check. I don't even care if you like me or not. You're really gonna split that shit? At that point, I'll just pay the whole thing. It was embarrassing. The fact that we gave 2 cards to the bartender for 20, he probably looked at us like, and I was looking good that night. I know it was not me that was the issue. And this person was definitely still interested because they hit me up afterwards, asked for another date. I didn't even give them the time of day. I was like, bro, you split a $25 tab. Like, come on.
I mean, here's what I'll say, and not that this is any kind of excuse for this person, but a lot of it does also come down to like personality, where the general, I guess you could say, idea is that the man will pay. And I'll elaborate on that from my standpoint after I say this. I've met tons of people in my life, tons of guys who are so like frugal. You'd be surprised at how much they will not spend money. Like it's crazy.
Then don't go on a date.
It's crazy. They're so frugal. But I bet you that person has a lot of savings. Not that it matters, but I'm just saying.
Then don't go on a date. And the thing that baffles me too is that he was the one that asked me. Like that's also another thing. Like if I'm inviting, if I'm saying like, oh, let's like if I'm making the plans, then that's kind of like a different story. But you asked me to go out for drinks. You asked me. That's what really bothers me. And like I said, if we're dating and like you and I, we always split the check.
Yeah.
Like when we were dating and when were there moments where you paid? Were there moments when I paid? Yes. Because we were
but usually that was established
relationship. Yes.
Before we went out.
And
like,
that was never
dinner's on me.
And that was just never an issue with us. Like it was never anything that was, and we were also at a stage where like we were younger. Like we weren't making that much money. So I also feel like when you're dating in like your early 20s, it's a different ballpark. It's a whole different animal. But when you're at an age where we're in our late 20s now, going on our 30s, if you're going to ask a woman out for drinks or for dinner or whatever, if you're asking her out, you need to pay the bill.
So I'll tell you from my standpoint. Here is my thought process every time I'm on a first date. My expectation when I go out, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a nice guy or if it's society or if it's just how it is, I expect that I'm going to pay going in there. Even if the date doesn't go well and I'm not into the person, I still feel like, all right, I'm still going to pay this, because I also feel bad that it's probably like, this isn't going to
It's
happen
also
again.
like a respect kind of thing too.
Yeah.
It's just like,
But let
I
me
don't
tell you
know.
from a man's standpoint, and I don't know, you may push back on this, and that's totally cool. But I'm going to tell you from my standpoint what I appreciate the most. When I go out on a first date, I am going to pay regardless. I'm going to do it.
I always offer. I always offer. I will always, I don't care if I expect you to pay or not.
Yes,
I'm
that's
the
the
type of
thing.
person that I will always take my wallet out and put my card out. I will. Because that's also like a test. Like it's like,
Yeah,
but and like I said, I don't like people that make
it's a
assumptions
test.
and
It's a
that
test both ways.
it's a test both ways. But I've never been on a date, and this is something that a lot of my girlfriends have yelled at me for. And we'll talk more into detail about this after we talk about this.
Yeah.
Is I will always offer, regardless if I think that I'm paying or not. I will always offer because I think that that's just the respectful thing to do.
And I'll tell you from a guy's standpoint, when when my expectation is I'm going to pay the bill, it tells me and every other guy you're on a date with a lot more about the woman. Even if you don't even have to say we'll split it. Even if you just do a little act of fumbling for your card,
Mm-hmm.
that's enough for me to say, hey, okay, I was going to pay regardless. I'm not going to let her pay, but that shows me what kind of person she is, right?
Yes.
And it's okay that if you're pretending to fumble for the card and you're still expecting them to pay, it doesn't scream, I'm expecting you to pay.
Mm-hmm.
I know society is like the man should pay, whatnot. I even expect to pay. I'm going to pay when I go out. But if you just reach for it, even if you're just flicking things in your bag, don't give a shit. If you're not just sitting there staring at me blindly to pay the check, like to me, it's like I knew I was going to do it already, but that rubs me the wrong way. If you just blankly stare at me or look at the check and look at me
There's definitely
versus
a
just
way of
offering.
so this is so funny because my girlfriend is that we were talking about this because it's something that really bothers her because my ex after you and the thing was like we had gotten to know each other for quite a bit of time before we went on like our first actual date, and this was something that we planned. We were really excited about. Like we knew each other like a month or two at this point, and then we planned out this first date and everything. And the bill was $85. Like it wasn't like a crazy big bill. And the check came, and I just I grabbed my card, I took it out, and I was waiting for him to stop me. I was waiting for, and did not stop me at all whatsoever. And I put my card down. And I told her, and she was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And in that moment, I was kind of like, I liked him so much that I just was like not thinking about it. But that did say a lot about him in that
Yeah.
moment. It really did. And she's just so funny because there's just a way of going about it. She was like, and she literally gave me like a visual. We had like a fake dinner table. She's like, this is what you do. And we just like, it's just a way of how you do it. Like you obviously want to make them
Yeah.
feel like you're not expecting anything. But at the same time, it's like, I shouldn't be paying for this. And like
Yeah.
at this point, like we already had established that we liked each other. We had already established that this was going somewhere. And the fact that we had it planned and everything and we went to dinner and I drove there. I picked him up. I drove there. I
This
made
seems
the
like
plan.
it's ass backwards, this whole thing. That should have
I
told you
made the
all you needed to know.
plans. I made the plans and everything. And we got there and this man didn't pay the bill. And let me tell you, he's never paid the bill
Did he
once.
split it or did he just not pay it?
Oh no, we split it. We split
Oh,
it.
okay.
We split
But
it.
here's my thing. That should have told you all you needed to know.
I know.
But that's the thing is as from the male's perspective, just fumbling is enough. And just like you fumbling for your card will tell me all I need to know, the man saying, no, I got this will tell you all you need to know. And that's it. In my opinion, and I may be wrong, but that's just how I feel about it.
And dynamics change as your relationship evolves. 100%. When you're in the beginning of the dating
You're making a first
stage,
impression.
yes, you know what I mean? And then once you get to a point where this is an established relationship, we're together, all right, then we figure out, all right, we're splitting bills, we're splitting this, we're splitting that. But I think it's really important in the beginning of that dating because a man needs to be a man. And I feel like I've always been a person that's always had a lot of masculine energy to me. And this has been a big downfall of mine. I've had a lot of masculine energy. And I feel like maybe sometimes I give maybe the wrong impression that I'm like, because I'm independent, I have my own apartment, I pay my own bills, I got my shit together. But that doesn't mean that I should be constantly paying, you know? And I feel like maybe sometimes that's my downfall, that I give off maybe this persona that I'm like this kind of like, you know, I got this, like, you don't got to, but like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like a woman is a woman and a man is a man. And we're not going to get into gender and all of that. Like, this is not going to be a whole thing like that. We're just talking about a man and a woman dating, because this is our experience. When woman with woman dating and man with men, it could be different. I don't know, because that's not what I'm
Yeah,
used
it's
to.
not our world.
But that's not our world. Respect that world, all to it, allies to the max, love them all. But I'm just talking about from an experience between a man and a woman. I think that there's just certain roles that they need to play, and they need to stick to those roles.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like I said, that's my only thing, is as long as you look like you're trying to make the effort, I'm cool. I'm not going to let you do it anyways. You know, even if the date was a dud, I will still pay. It's fine, because that's my expectation. We went on the date. Just because we didn't hit it off doesn't change the fact that it was still a date. The date was still a date, and the rules, or my rules for myself, still apply.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're going to go on a second one, but I will still pay. It's not like, oh my God, your personality didn't match with mine, so fuck it, you got to pay half your bill now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I am still doing what I think my duty is in this situation about taking you out on a date, whether it went well or whether it didn't. I am still going to do my duty. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it.
Duty, but it's
but
just
that's my thing. That's how I'm going to do it.
I would word it as first date etiquette.
Yeah, etiquette's probably a better word than duty. But I mean, I look at it as like, duty. That's what I'm doing. That's just my thing.
But that's how I feel about it. And I feel like if you're a guy, and this is me, and I feel like there's definitely a lot more females listening to this than guys. I think that's just kind of how it is. But if you're a guy and you like this person that you're taking out on a date, and you're trying to make a first impression, just pay the bill. I'm telling you, just pay the bill. It'll say a lot about you. It'll say a lot about your character, and just don't screw that up. Because for you to really like someone, and then for that to be their first impression from you, it's not a good look. It really isn't. It's not a good look at all. So getting past that first date, I think that if the first date goes well, then you obviously move forward from that. Do you have any funny like first date stories, or any stories of a first date that went well or went wrong?
I mean, there's a few. I mean, I can give examples of both. And then there's some that don't even happen. I can tell you there's this one person who we talk very sporadically back and forth. I mean, I stopped at this point. It's not worth my time, and my time is worth something to me, so I'm not going to waste it. But this person would just hit me up out of the blue for drinks, and it would be like 8:30 at night on like a Tuesday. And I'm like, no, I'm not dropping what I'm doing right now to go meet you for a drink.
See, I'm all for that. It's so funny because I'm all for that, but it's everybody's different.
Yeah, but if I'm in the middle of something, like, you can't just be like, drinks now. It's like, dude, and then every time you ask me, I'm in the middle of something. I'm not just going to drop what I'm doing to appease you.
It needs to be planned.
You know what I mean?
A first date, if you actually care about this person, if you actually want more out of this person than just sex.
I don't think they wanted. I think that's all they wanted out of me. But
so that's probably why they were doing that, because I feel like if you were gonna make that effort, it says.
Which I wasn't.
I think that it says a lot about the expectations that you have. Because let's be real, there are certain relationships with people that you know from the jump, this is strictly going to be sexual, or this is strictly going to be. But I think that regardless if it's just going to be a friends with benefit thing, out of respect, make some kind of effort. Because I've had to cut out a lot of people in my life who have been people that I've just, friends with benefits here and there. I hate the late night, unless I'm the one sending it, which is very one-sided.
Yeah, double standard.
I don't like and like I used to be weak to it, and like, but I think that there's just a respect thing. Like, I don't care if you don't want a relationship with me or you don't want anything serious.
But respect me as a human.
Respect me as a human being. Be like, Ayesha, let me take you out for a drink and see where the night takes us. I will most definitely have a great night with you if I like you and I'm into it. And the people that I've had that were friends with benefits in the past, they're people that I know that I have. It's a mutual understanding. I have respect for them. It's not some rando that I met online. Like, there's just certain people that you have that understanding with.
Yeah.
But there would be a dynamic in my past where it's just like I would get like the WYD text at 2 a.m. and then they just come over. and then they just come over and then that's it and they bounce. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't feel good. Like, it
Then
doesn't
don't
have to
allow it to
be,
happen.
it doesn't have to be that. Like,
Yeah.
invite me out for a drink. Say that you're gonna, invite me over and say you're gonna, you have a little food for me, a bottle of wine, a joint, something. Like, I hate that feeling of like that hit it and quit it feeling. Like, I think
Yeah.
we're at a point at this day and age, like at this age when you're getting closer to your 30s, there's gotta be some sense of like, yes, I do only want to get in your pants, but I have a respect for you as a woman. And I will make at least a little bit of an effort to make you feel not like some whore in the wind that you're just wanting to bang. It's just, and I think that that's something that men need to understand more. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated, and then it doesn't have to be uncomplicated. Like, it's invite me out for a drink, invite me out for even just having a joint roll and being like, let's go for a walk and smoke this joint. Something, it's really not that difficult. But I am at a stage up in my life, and it took me a while to get here. And, I do feel like in the past I haven't had enough respect for myself. And maybe it took certain people to open my eyes of what I deserve and what I should expect out of a person. But I feel like even if it's just sex, like I expect there's going to be an expectation and there's going to be a bottom line there that I will, and if that's not going to be met, then I'm not answering your call and I'm not answering your text. And shout out to all those friends with benefits that might be listening right now who've realized that I haven't answered. It's because you
I
ain't got
doubt they're
no
listening.
damn respect. You'd be surprised.
I doubt they're listening. You can tell just by the way this podcast is right now, the difference, and actually it says it all. The difference between a male and a female when it comes to expectations. It's just so different, right? You could say all that, and I'm be like, none of that really applies. Not that it doesn't apply to me, but it
you
really...
don't agree.
No, I'm not saying I don't agree. I agree, but I'm saying I don't really have that. That's not really...
Well, on your end, like if a
girl,
like, because I feel like for a guy, it's like if a girl is reaching out for you to have sex, it's like, yeah, let's do this thing.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes I'm like, dude, come on. Like, no, here's the thing is, as I get older, the less I give a shit about any of that. And it's not that, when those things occur that they're not fun or that every once in a while you kind of, need that type of thing. But I'm at the point in my life where I'm getting older and I value my time. Because even if I'm doing nothing with that time,
good point.
Even if I'm doing nothing with that time, that's my prerogative. If I want to, how excited I get sometimes for a night or a weekend where I have zero obligations and no plans, or it's like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want. And if whatever I want is nothing, then I'm going to do nothing. And I'm totally cool with that.
And I think that this is a really good point, that people need to value their time more, because that's something that I didn't value. And like, for example, like recently, someone that I had been obsessed with for a really long time reached out to me and said they were attracted to me, that they wanted to take me out on a date. And I was just like, oh my God, like, wow. Like, and I got super excited. They made 2 weeks in a row, made a plan with me. And last minute was just like, well, the first time they didn't even say anything to me. They just, that the day we literally had a plan, we made a plan. That day came, I didn't hear anything from this person. Ghost town. And I was just like, wow, shit, okay. Then a week later, yo, I'm really sorry. My plans changed. I didn't even realize we had a plan. Bullshit. I'm going to make it up to you. Like, let's make a plan this Wednesday. That Wednesday came around a few hours before we were going to go on this date or whatever the hell it was. He goes, oh, my schedule changed and I have to. My time is valuable. The fact that we made a plan and you're going to waste my time like that. Like, if you didn't even have the intentions of going through with this plan, like, why are you wasting my time? You hit me up. It'd be different if I reached out to him and was like, hey, let's do this. And they felt bad. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then last minute canceled. All right. That's one thing. But you took time out of your day to make a plan with me. And of course, this person didn't give a shit about me from the beginning. They just wanted to get into my pants or whatever the case may be. And I learned that. But I knew that too. And I was cool with it. Like, I like this person. So like, if you just want to do that, then we can just do that. But at least don't waste my time. And if you're going to make a plan with me, follow through with those plans.
You know what's crazy though nowadays, or I notice it nowadays, is it seems like people have harder and harder times sticking with plans, and I'm also one of them. I don't like canceling on people, but there's sometimes I agree to things. like a week in advance or maybe further, and like, shit happens. Sometimes you think you're gonna. I'm not giving this person excuses. I mean, you're probably hit the nail right on the head when it came to this person. Is they wanted to do precisely probably what you said.
They had their intentions from the beginning, which is fine. They did.
I'm not saying this happened, and this may be way out in left field. I think this is kind of funny. There's this thing with guys. It's called post nut clarity, and this is a real thing where I don't even know how to get into this, but sometimes with a dude, things will seem like a good idea. Like if you're with your guy friends, which you wouldn't know this, and probably if mostly women are listening to this, here's some insight for you. Usually, and all it's like a male thing. Everybody knows it. Like, let's say they say whenever you have plans with a woman that you're not, maybe if you're into them, it's different. But if you're not really into them and you're like, you kind of know it, like you're kind of just chasing tail, they always say you got to jerk off first because you get that post nut clarity and how you feel after you're done. If you still want to hang out with them, then okay, go hang out with them. But if you don't, that tells you all you need to know about your relationship with that person.
I should start doing this shit. If I want to go on a date with someone, I should just touch myself, and then afterwards, if I'm still wanting to do it, then you know what? This is great advice. Everybody out there.
Yeah, post nut clarity. It's a thing.
And then see if you still feel the same way about that person.
It's weird. It's weird. You like come back to reality, and then like. And I think you can avoid a lot of mistakes this way, right? On both sides. Like a male can avoid a mistake because sometimes you're thinking with your dick, right? You're thinking with your dick, and you're like, I'm gonna go. And this could also be why a lot of first dates suck because people don't nut for. This is terrible, but
jack off before your dates, people.
Because here's the thing: is you'll put in all this effort and then realize sometimes like, oh, they're not a good. Like you knew from the beginning they weren't a good match. You were just trying to get it done, right? And maybe the other person doesn't know that, and you're just kind of you're fucking with people now. And I don't think it's cool to fuck with people. You know what I mean? Like you're almost leading someone on because you want some tail. They may be into you, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I actually didn't care about them at all. I don't even like their personality."
This kind of contradicts what I said before, but I feel like I said, regardless if you're trying to just be fuck buddies or if you see something serious with this person, yes, make the effort, make it at least fake that you care. And then when you do get to that point where it is like the first day, I do think that it's important to be clear about where you think that this is going.
I even think before if you're trying to do, and I know it's a weird thing to bring up if you don't really know the person too well, but if your intentions are, friends with benefits, bring that up. You'd be surprised you'd be surprised how many people are actually cool with that right off the bat.
Yeah.
And if you have that understanding beforehand, you're good. I think the problem is like you said, people put in all this effort and they pretend that they care. It's not that they pretend that they care. They're thinking from a male standpoint, they're thinking with the wrong head. So they care until they get what they want, then they no longer care. And it was all like deception in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is a universal thing and this is how it should go. But what I'm saying is be clear with your intentions. If that's your intention, you'd be surprised how many people are actually probably cool with it if you just have a conversation. Because you never know. They may be looking for the same thing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What would be getting back to like dates and expectations and all of that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just took us in some crazy direction.
What is your ideal first date? Like if you could just like have your dream first date, what would it be like and how would it go?
For me, it's very, very simple. And it's going to be like, oh, wow, really? What a bore. But for me...
It is simple sometimes. Yeah. Less is more.
For me, an ideal first date would be, you go, you have dinner and drinks, and you have a nice long conversation with dinner and drinks, preferably in like warmer months so you can go in an area where you can kind of walk around after. But to me, it'd be like dinner and drinks. You have a nice conversation where it flows. Maybe dinner took over an hour and a half to 2 hours because you weren't eating fast, right? I like the type of date where maybe you had a couple glasses of wine or a couple cocktails, but you were so deeply engaged in conversation that you're not just shoveling down your fucking food, right? You're actually talking, like, you're on a good date and you're having a good conversation when the food sits on the plate for a long time. That's when you know. And maybe not going, like, depending on how you're feeling, if you're not too full, going out for dessert and preferably walking to the next place, chatting, like a nice summer night down on like I am trying to think of a universal place that everyone would know, but like a place where it's happening, right? Where there's sidewalks, there's shops, there's restaurants, there's all this stuff in walking distance. So you can just kind of leave your car somewhere, you leave dinner, you're going for a walk, you're having a nice conversation. Maybe you go grab some ice cream because it's summer. Or maybe you stop at another bar and sit down and have another drink. But the whole time, it just feels like time melts away because you're having a deep and genuine conversation. And honestly, for me, I need nothing more at the end of a good first date than a good first kiss. And then after that, you're good. I don't need to take you home. I don't need you to ask me to come home. I don't need anything else. I don't need anything more than that. And to me, that's an ideal first date. Now, I understand that some people may like going on an adventure, and those things may be cool, right? Those things may be cool. But on a first date, I am interested in getting to know you. And even though all of these activities may be fun, like if I'm not doing an activity with you that I can actually have a genuine conversation with you, that can be the second or third date type activity, not the first date activity. I think first date, simplicity is key.
Simplicity is key. Like even for me, like for a first date, I honestly rather there not be too much food involved.
They don't want to be bloated.
One, because I'm a messy ass eater and you know this.
Oh, yeah, you are.
And two, you got to be able to flee. So if it's your first date and you don't want to commit to like a full sit down dinner, I think it's better to I think a perfect first date would just be like drinks, maybe an app, like keep it light, keep it simple, keep it, because one, if I'm not feeling it, I can escape easily. If you're inviting me out to a sit down dinner for our first date, it's kind of hard to escape that. Like
just gotta eat fast.
I'll be for it. I'm with it.
Just eat fast.
But I think for me, an ideal first date would be something casual, some drinks, an appetizer or two, see where the night goes. And then like the specifics they can change. Because I think that like everybody's different and you might have to like kind of cater that first date to like your interests and what you're mutually into. But I think that like for your first date, the least amount of food, the better. For me, that's just like personally and then like once we get to the point where it's like the second, third date, then like a sit down dinner may make more sense. But for me, for a first date, I really I like drinks. I like it when someone's like, let's go grab a few drinks. Like I'm cool with that. That's good enough for me, honestly. But it's like, I'm just such a messy eater. I really am.
Yeah,
I think it's because I enjoy my food so much that when I eat it, I don't hold back. And that just means that it's going to be all over my face. Or maybe I'm just a pig or a slob. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what that's
I think it's a graceful sloppy.
No? Is there a such thing?
Well, we dated for so long that the gracefulness for me definitely was gone by then. So I feel like you'd be the worst person.
I don't even remember it to begin with, and it doesn't mean it wasn't there. That's just because we dated so long that
I think
over
I got
time,
more messy,
I just remember,
though. The more we got comfortable, the more I was just like, whatever.
I just remember you used to waste so many damn napkins because you would wipe it and then put it in a ball. And I'm like, dude, fold it. There's more to the napkin. Let's go. Don't waste resources here.
I don't properly use napkins at all.
Stresses me out. Wasting all the napkins.
Look, I'm not in denial about it.
But here's what I'll say about what you said. That is true. And I did actually have a conversation with someone when I asked them out to dinner, and they said, no, I don't commit to dinners. I'll do drinks. Because
I love that. I like how transparent. I like how transparent they were.
That's happened to them.
That's not easy to do. Because I feel like some people might be like, I don't want them to feel bad, but I really respect that she was like, honestly, I'd rather start off with drinks and then see where it goes. I love that.
Yeah, and she said specifically, she was like, don't take this the wrong way. I have a rule for myself now. I don't commit to dinner on the first date because I've had some previous ones. So
I'm gonna steal that from her.
Yeah. And it was cool because I didn't take offense to it because she was very transparent. She's like, I had a few bad experiences. No offense. It could be great with you, but I don't chance it anymore. And I'm like, cool. That's dope. I'm all for that. I don't even remember if we did anything or not, if we actually went out or not, if that was just something that we talked about. I don't even remember.
Oh, wow. You're a little Renaissance man. You don't even remember what these dates are. You've lost track.
No, it's been a while for me. Going out on dates, I've kind of put that on the back burner because I need to focus on me. I need to focus on me.
Same. And this is
I feel like
that And I think that this is a good point to also bring up, and we're going to wrap this up soon, but I think that it's really important too when you're dating and when you're kind of actively going on
Yeah.
dates that before you put your focus on it, because that's, I feel like sometimes people kind of misplace emotions and feelings, and it's like,
Oh,
oh, I need to
100%.
date to feel, I'm at a point now and I'm at a stage now where it's like I don't need to be going out on all these dates to feel fulfilled and to make me feel less lonely. I feel like the most important thing that should be your main priority before you even start dating, regardless of what your intentions are, is to like put you first, work on yourself, heal yourself, because then you'll be in a better headspace.
Yeah.
You'll have a better mindset that when you're going onto these dates, it's gonna be a better experience. If
Yeah.
you're in a stage where you're in a shitty headspace, you're not, it's just, you work on yourself, heal yourself, make sure that you're in a
100%. Yeah.
position where you're like, I'm ready to go on this date. I'm ready to meet new people because it's stressful going out on a date. It really is. It's stressful. It's a lot. So if
Yeah.
you're mentally, emotionally in a good space, then regardless of who you're going on this date with, it's gonna be a better experience for you.
Yeah. And here's my take on this. I feel like we all have what our ideal partner looks like or what we want in an ideal partner in terms of qualities. And I feel like I've done this too, and this is going to be like a two-part thing because I got to explain what the hell I'm talking about. I've found myself where I've felt like I made a connection with someone, and as soon as I felt like I made a connection with someone that I was talking to, immediately I had this oh shit thing go off in my head and saying, fuck, I wish I would have met this person like 6 months from now and spent these last 6 months working on myself. That's why I completely stopped dating, because I'm like, I can't find myself in a situation where I'm like, ooh, I
Save
could
some of
really
this stuff
connect.
for the healing episode.
Yeah.
Don't get
So
too in detail about this.
just
Yeah.
briefly, what I'm saying is, if you're, and this goes right in hand with expectations. We all have an expectation of what our first date wants to look like, what we want that person on that first date to look like, have the qualities of, all of these things. If you do not, and I repeat, if you do not possess those qualities yourself, you cannot expect the other person to have those qualities. And if you do,
Preach.
shame on you.
Yeah.
If you want someone who's in crazy good shape, but you don't work out, shame on you.
True.
Shame on you. If you want someone to have their shit together, but you don't, shame on you. If you want someone
Facts.
to be someone who completely all the time works on themselves, but you don't work on you, don't expect that person that you end up with to be that person. Because guess what? You don't deserve that person. Not saying that you could never, but you in the present state don't
You
deserve that person.
attract what you give into the world. It really is what you attract and what you're
And
going
we
to
upsell
receive.
ourselves. We upsell ourselves. You know, for that first date or for those first few interactions with someone, whether it's text messages or in person, you are bringing your game and you are peacocking a fucking lot, right? You're leaving out all your flaws and you're finding out, like, there'll be times, and I've done this too, where it's like, I'll be talking to someone who's like works out all the time. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, I don't though. And then it makes me feel ashamed. And then I'm like, you know what? I can't be giving this person this expectation that I'm super into the gym when I'm not. Also, started back at the gym today. We're gonna give woohoo. Yeah, let's go.
This is something
Gotta,
we're both working on, and this is I think
gotta
this is
start
also
somewhere.
another really good topic that we'll talk about is like
Yeah.
health, both physical and mental. Because you and I, this is something that you and I have struggled with together, like our our physical and all that. And I think that that's something that it's a journey that we I think we're really good at trying to motivate each other and trying to even when we don't date. I think it's something that we try to applaud and try to have each other be better.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a whole nother episode in itself, but you have to work on that. And it's hard. It's a struggle. We struggle with it all the time.
Yeah.
But you
It's
have
life,
to
though.
put that first. You have to put more mental than physical, but physical is super important too. But you got to put that first.
Yeah. And for me, it's always, and I feel like a lot of people are like this. We're always waiting for the perfect time to start, when in reality there is no perfect time.
You just got to do it.
You just got to do it. And I think everything in life is just a decision.
And there's going to be ups and downs, and like don't let that determine, because like for me, like for example, like I go through spurts where I'm like 2 weeks solid at the gym, like every single day. and then it kind of just falls off, and I'm just like, ugh, this sucks. But then I try to hop back into it. Like some
Yeah.
people will be like, ugh, I haven't gone to the gym in this long, then I'm just gonna continue not going to the gym. Like you just gotta, just keep moving forward. But I kind of want to wrap this up and say my takeaways from this episode. And for me is when it comes to first dates and expectations, know your expectations, know what you're looking for, be transparent. But also I feel like it's sometimes even worse to have too many expectations because then it leads to more disappointment. So I feel like there needs to be a happy medium where you know what your non-negotiables is, like a big word that I like to use, but know your non-negotiables, have those expectations, but then at the same time, don't try to expect too much, because the more you expect at a certain degree, the more room there is for disappointment. So I feel like it's better to sometimes put on the first date, like, yes, go with the flow, see where things go, but have like those like top 3 things that like, like, all right, well, if these aren't met, then I'm not even going to move forward with this. And I think that those are my main takeaways. And then also at the same time, make that effort, especially men. Like this is like, shout out to the men out there. Like make some kind of effort. It can be a little amount of effort or a big amount of effort. Effort is effort at the end of the day. And you can tell when someone is doing the bare minimum. You can just tell. So regardless if you want a friends with benefits, if you want a relationship, if you want a friend, just make some kind of effort and make that person feel acknowledged and special, and that, I want to meet you and I want this to be special in some kind of way. I think those are my main takeaways for this episode.
Yeah. Mine would be right off the bat, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, lower your expectations. Here's my thing.
TikTok, lower your expectations.
I don't know. I don't watch TikTok. But lower your expectations. And let me clarify. Let me clarify. You got to let me finish. You're cutting it off at the source. You got to let me finish here. Lower your expectations. And what I mean by that is the only way in life we ever get disappointed is when we have an expectation for something and it fails to meet it. And what I mean by lower your expectation is doesn't mean have no expectations, but that doesn't mean live the first date in your head before you go out. Because I've been guilty of this. In my head, I'm thinking about what is the perfect scenario? What does this look like? How do these conversations flow? And then you're almost trying to reenact what you saw in your head in person, and it's not going to be that way. So when I say lower your expectations, have a checklist of the bare minimums, like she said, the non-negotiables. Like if for her it's the men paying and having a plan, and that's it, and seeing where the night goes, that's great, because then there's only 2 things that need to happen for expectations to be met.
It's
and
that
then
effort. For me, the biggest thing is that effort.
Everything else exceeds it. But if you have this expectation of all of these things have to go a particular way and then they don't, you could mistake a really great date for a poor date because your expectations are way too high.
And you'll never be happy if you're constantly going to just have that strict one way of thinking. Like you have to be open-minded about certain things, because not everybody thinks the same way you do. And that doesn't mean that they're not the right person for you, because I don't think that the right person for you is going to think exactly how you think, or they're going to feel the way you feel. So you have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but there's those non-negotiables that are just like, that you should
have that
know.
Checklist.
Have that checklist.
First date, pre-date checklist of the things that is your standard. Lower your expectations, maintain your standard. That's what I'll say.
I like that.
Lower your expectations, maintain your standards.
I think that's the name of the episode right there.
Yeah. Because that's just the way it is. I think, and I'm guilty of this. I've done it where I'm having such a great text conversation with someone, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the most magnificent conversation I'll ever have with another human in person. And then it turns out to be a dud conversation where it's like, was it, or was I trying to recreate what I thought was going to happen in my head? And now I'm missing what's right in front of me.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Just have your checklist. All I know is that probably less for a man than a woman, but on my side, it's like, I know that I'm going to take someone out to dinner and I'm going to pay. And then everything else after that is just going to be whatever it is. Those, and maybe the opposites for you. Maybe it's having a plan, making an effort, and paying is your expectation, but everything else is free for interpretation. So lower your expectations, make sure you meet your standards.
Maintain your standards. I love that.
Maintain your standards.
And ending the podcast on that note, we want to thank again. We can't thank enough. Everyone that's been supportive. We've been getting a decent amount of downloads, right? What was that picture that you sent me? That it was like 100-something downloads.
Yeah. Here's my thing: is I don't know. I've never had a podcast, so I don't know what stats are good. But I think across the first 4 episodes, and this is just Apple Podcast stats. I don't think this includes anything else. I think we're at like 130 downloads total, which is
that's awesome. Look,
which is an average of what?
And we're not doing this for the
40
views
per episode,
and for
maybe
all that. It does feel good, and so we do want to thank everybody for showing their support and being here and riding along this wave with us. And I really want to find the information about this guy who made this theme song for us.
Yeah,
because he fucking killed it.
He
how many people reached out to me and they were like, "Yo, where was that song already?" Somebody asked me like, "Was that song already made?" And like it just worked. I was like, "No, like this,
we commissioned that shit."
We paid this person to write this song, and we knew that the song, like, we weren't expecting. And this is a perfect example. We didn't have like expectations. We were just like, all right, like whatever he comes up with, like it'll be decent.
It's better than having nothing.
Totally, just like blew me over with how amazing the song came out. It came out
every
so
penny.
good.
It was worth every
So
penny.
once we find out this guy's information, we definitely want to shout him out. Because this guy killed it, and I
might just have him make me a song just for myself, just a theme song for me.
He deserves so much more credit. He deserves so much more credit. He should be
worth every penny.
Yeah, so
he was worth
we want to
every single penny,
and
he was quick too.
Yeah, once we get more information about him, we will. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And any last words?
Yeah, just touching on the song. I only had one person reach out to me about the song, but that person's like, "Bro, this song slaps." And I was like,
in the beginning's like, okay, and then once he just goes in, we're just like, what?
The rhymes and so relevant. He literally took the description I gave him and just
like when we and Jared listened to the song, like when he showed it to me for the first time, my jaw was like on the floor. I was just like, is this real life?
Because I heard it and I went, "Oh, this is good."
Yeah, like
he
totally was over the expectations that we had on expectations. Our expectation was like here, and this guy.
But here's the problem:
ceiling.
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect, so you can't have any expectations.
See, this is a perfect way to end the podcast.
Same thing with a date. You don't know what to expect till you go on the date. So lower your expectations, maintain your standards, and just to echo your sentiment, I would like to thank everybody for watching, listening, depending on how you're consuming this. But reach out to us if you know us. Hit us up on Instagram. Leave some comments on YouTube if that's where you're, or Apple Podcast. Leave a review. We love it when we hear that people are enjoying the podcast. We're having a blast doing it. We're gonna keep doing it regardless, but it really, really fuels the fire when someone's, gives us a kind word or says that they got something out of any kind of episode, or that they even just got entertainment out of it. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cue the song that slaps.
Conversations with my ex, yes, it had to end. Dated for 5 years, now we really good friends. Conversations with my ex, talking love and life, the dating ins and outs, sharing some dope advice. We gon' keep it honest, never hold back with my comments. I done learned a thing or two, so we gotta talk about